Mr. President, can you describe the upload process?
So bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. You know?
Okay, that's weird. Moving on. How does your mind feel after taking the exam?
Depleted. It's depleted.
What about your soul?
Very, very obviously broken.
It couldn't have been that bad. You prepared all year. How bad could it have gone?
5 times more than you ever thought possible.
What score do you think you got on the essay?
1.6, 2.1, 2.5.
How would you describe the DBQ prompt?
Pretty nasty, to be honest with you.
Can you go into more detail?
The worst thing in the world.
How many times did you ugly cry during the exam?
56.
Ouch. What is your GPA like after taking AP History?
A disaster, folks. It's a disaster.
A lot of students felt like they did pretty well on the exam.
Congratulations.
If you had to predict your score, what would you say?
2 or 1 or 3.
It's only a 5-point scale. Which one do you think you got?
1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
Well, that certainly clears things up. Let's move on.
It looks like 3. Could be 4. Perhaps it could be 2.
Okay. What are you and your friends doing now that you bombed your AP History exam?
They lock themselves into apartments, petrified to even leave in the middle of the day.
How has the crying been since you finished the AP exam?
Out of control and late and terrible. Just absolutely catastrophic.
Do you think you will ever understand the AP curriculum?
I'll probably never get it, but that's okay.
Why do you think many students felt like they didn't do as well as they could have on the AP exam? Describe a typical study session with your friends.
They sit around a table, they have lunch, they eat, they dine, and they waste a lot of time.
What would you say to a lazy student in an AP class?
You don't want to be in this room very long because you won't last.
Any advice for students thinking of dropping out of school after they bomb their AP exam?
Keep going.
Inspiring words. Where did you get that advice?
My butt.
What should AP students get after enduring the stress of a class that in many ways is more difficult than your typical college class?
Give you the Nobel Peace Prize.
Mr. President, what advice would you give to a student who gets a 1 on the AP exam? What should they do in their future?
Sell drugs.
I want to switch gears slightly. I feel like you might be being a bit too hard on yourself. Let's test your AP History knowledge. Can you name some of the New Deal programs?
ABC, CBS, NBC.
What's the nickname for Richard Nixon?
Dick.
Describe Manifest Destiny.
Up and down, left and right, east and west.
Evaluate George Washington's presidency.
That will be one of the great cabinets ever assembled in American history.
How long was the 7 Years' War?
For years, 19 years.
Why was the Cold War so dangerous?
This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done.
We just celebrated the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. How long ago was that war?
30 years ago, 25 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Back to that 7 Years' War question. How long again was that war?
For like 44 years or something.
Who did nativists not like?
Deal with foreign people.
If you had a prompt that said, evaluate the success of the New Deal, what would be your thesis?
It's a good deal. It was a horrible deal.
When did the War of 1812 start?
1977 or so.
One more time, Mr. President. How long ago was the end of World War II?
30 years ago, 36 years ago.
Moving on, do you recommend students taking AP History?
That's such a racist question.
What do you think of the advice? If you don't know the name of the treaty, it's probably the Treaty of Paris. Thank you for your time, Mr. President.